All right, in the second lecture on gratitude, we talked a little bit more about what gratitude is, as well as some of the ways to promote it. So, we talked in particular about the four different facets of gratitude. And those include the intensity with which I feel gratitude. This is the feel dimension of the virtue. The frequency with which I experience gratitude. This has to do in part with seeing or with perceptual sensitivity. And it has to do with how often I feel grateful in a given day or hour. There's gratitude span. This also has to do with my perceptual sensitivity. And it's how many life circumstances I tend to feel grateful for at any given moment. So the bigger my span, the more cues around me trigger off feelings of gratitude. And then gratitude density. This is also a perceptual sensitivity, and it's one that can be tuned up as well. The density, the more dense my gratitude is, the more people I feel grateful for each circumstance in my life that I feel grateful for. So low density would be I'm thankful to have my job, and so I feel grateful to my boss who gave me the job. A high density would be I'm grateful to have my job. And so I'm grateful not only to my boss, but also for the colleagues who sat into my interviews, for my professors who helped train me, for my grade school teachers who helped get me enthusiastic about academics, for my parents who supported me, etc., etc., etc. So, in order to promote gratitude, there's a few additional things you can do. One is it turns out that program dissatisfaction, the way that our minds typically operate, tends to decrease gratitude. So, to whatever extent I can decrease the triggers for program dissatisfaction, I will increase my gratitude. Now, this program dissatisfaction is based on habits within the human mind that we've talked about before in the semester, such as the adaptation principle. And when the adaptation principle gets going, I tend to find myself in a hedonic treadmill where I purchase things or try to get a new experience just to feel good for a little bit, but I go back down to baseline very quickly. This happens the most when I'm consuming things conspicuously. And so to increase gratitude, I want to minimize the amount of purchases I'm making, especially those purchases that are done so that other people will look at them and feel envious. And as the author suggests, we can actually focus, instead of wanting what we don't have, focus on wanting what we do have. Focus our attention and our desires on those things that are already within our grasp. Another way that you can increase gratitude is by reducing entitlement triggers. So I tend to feel more entitled when I own more expensive things. So one intervention could be don't buy the most expensive things, because when I buy those kind of things, I start to nurture an illusion of independence. This happens at a large scale in Western culture. Turns out when I make more money, I also feel less grateful. So you may want to make less money or keep less money, give more away. That turns out the more I tend to compare myself with others socially, the less grateful I feel. So I want to reduce my tendencies to socially compare. And this, a big one that we can do is to reduce our social media consumption. Because what I'm set up to do there is to compare myself again and again and again every time I see a friend's feed. I can practice gratitude for the mundane by thinking about the many things in my life that I haven't felt grateful for until right now. Simple things like breathing clean air, like being comfortable and not in pain, like being able to adjust the temperature of my house. I can also practice gratitude for creation, either by going out into nature, by watching videos of nature, with the thought of what would this world be like if it didn't have trees, mountains, wind, grass, rain, and the list goes on. Furthermore, we can actually practice gratitude in the midst of suffering by taking those painful circumstances and asking ourselves some questions, not excusing or being grateful that something bad happened, but being grateful in the midst of suffering. Did the suffering event help me grow? Did it prevent something worse from happening? Am I a kinder person because of it? Can I be grateful for any kind of resources I had to cope with this suffering? Do I feel more connected to some people in my life because of it? And finally, practicing gratitude for people. We can picture the face of one or more people to whom we feel grateful for. We can remember times in which we felt most loved by them. We can ask ourselves, what do I most appreciate about this person? What's unique about them? And what would my life be like if they weren't into it? When I do think of these things, savor the fact that I have them in my life. These are just a few of the interventions we can use to increase our sense of gratitude each day.